Presented by RomulusIT.com, offering remote support for common computer problems.
I can give you my opinion cautiously about what I think. You mean just generally how he's done it in these last 4 years, 3 years or so?
Yeah, what he's done well, when he's done bad, almost a report card,
Yeah.
if you will.
Well, he's all over the place. I think the biggest frustration for many of us who believe in the purity of liberty and a limited government find it very frustrating, because he have a core set of principles that you can look at and know what he's going to do. And sometimes his appointments then reflect this, because he'll appoint somebody that on the Liberty Report will say, hey, this is good, we like this person, but then later on he has to fire him. So it's been inconsistent. I would say the thing that I've liked the most is when about 40 or 50% of the time he's talking about bringing our troops home and not confronting people and not dropping bombs. He's not a non-interventionist like we'd like him to be, but when we look and compare it to even somebody who gets the Peace Prize like an Obama, I mean, Trump is pretty darn good, because the other side, the enemies of Trump are always talking about, the uncontrollable Trump. But the Democrats aren't very good on foreign policy. So I would say that I like what he has done on that. I like what he has done on taxes. He's lowered taxes and he's lowered regulations, which has given him, some mileage, because that has helped the economy. We'd have been in a lot worse shape if that hadn't happened. But we still have, a lot of economic problems. But when it comes to whether or not he's a fiscal conservative, I mean, there's no choice. I mean, he doesn't even entertain the thought that you should cut spending, and it's big, and it's not into the hundreds of billions anymore. It's into the trillions of dollars, and so he spends more money than the Democrats. But that's the way it is. The Republicans have never been as good as they claim they are when it comes to spending. And the Democrats are never as good on protecting civil liberties and maybe having a more peaceful foreign policy. They're not very good at that. So at a national, if it weren't for the personalities involved, I would say Trump blends right into the system, that he's for big government with some restraints, but he still believes in printing money, running up the deficit. He's still for the Federal Reserve System that's there to accommodate big business and big banks. So a few good things, but overall, not a whole lot of basic changes have occurred. We're still endorsing same type of policies, but one other thing that I personally liked when he was running and when he won was his willingness to take on the obsession with political correctness. And he just blows them off with, not playing and not worrying about political correctness. But that's also makes it him the biggest target, because people get offended. And if you offend somebody, you're supposed to get down on your knee and apologize to them. And I think there's other Americans, and I think that was one of the reasons he won. He was willing to stand up and confront the people who pressure people into doing things for no good reasons. But overall, I've seen a lot worse presidents. Yet, if we come from a libertarian viewpoint, there's a lot more we'd like to see.
When he was brought into the fold and announced as the Republican candidate, how did you feel about that initially, and I guess where you stand on now, and how he's divided the Republican Party between these never Trumpers and the way a lot of them have, really jumped on board with this sort of new form of conservatism?
Well, when I heard he was running, I was not impressed at all. I never supported him, and you're an authoritarian. He likes to be an authoritarian, but he said enough things, just sort of like the political correctness and other things, and he was able to capture the evangelical vote, which was pretty unpredictable. He didn't satisfy me for wanting to change, but of course I'm difficult to satisfy, for us. So he campaigned, but never offered me something to say, boy, what I need to get on his team. Right now, I'm still not, I like them and I don't go after them, but I still don't. I don't get enthusiastic about him, mainly because of the up, the off again, and the spending and the deficits don't matter. And even though he's better than the others have been on foreign policy, he still does some crazy things on foreign policy. I don't like the idea that he has to look around for a fight. The way he comes out about what we're supposed to do with China and what we're supposed to do with Iran. That doesn't mean that I think we should, ignore them. But I don't think when we go over and Trump has gone over and all the presidents do it, we have to show a sign of force and power to show for our national security. We're over there in the South China Sea, messing around and bumping into ships and flying close to their places. And same thing with Iran. It's so unnecessary. It comes from insecurity. If you have a strong national defense and you're going to stand up for the defense of the country, you don't need an enemy. But that is necessary. Republicans and Democrats need that in order to get the military budget passed. And that's one of our major problems of the amount of money we spend in the military. We spend more than the next 10 countries altogether. And they're always talking about, we need to build up our military. The one early election that I watched carefully was Kennedy, running in 1960. The missile shortage and the missile crisis, and he was a liberal Democrat, wasn't supposed to be for that. So there's always a military crisis, and even in the midst, I noticed in the midst of the impeachment hearings, last year, they took time off. The leadership on both parties got into Congress to vote for the budget and the military budget. So that part isn't easy to satisfy anybody who's really for limited government, because government keeps growing, and it's going to keep growing until the whole thing falls apart.
This episode is brought to you by Romulus IT, offering fast, affordable remote support for common computer problems, including troubleshooting, health checks, virus removal, and software support. Visit RomulusIT.com to get your computer back on track.